Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to this holy light circle, the infinite circle. Okay. Looks we have a storm rolling in right now, and it's all the winds blowing and slamming all the doors. Here, I'm going to put this microphone right down here so it's out of the wind. And as we start with the light tonight, once again, the light of infinite love and happiness, that is our really one goal. There's only one goal with having God. God that's already here, that we've been tossing out the window, doing everything possible in consciousness to shut the light out. Thankfully, in these light circles, we see that it's impossible to shut the light out. The light is always here. So we've been talking about what terms to include in the back of the New Covenant as we're getting ready to put all 20 chapters into a single book. And so this is part 2 of the terms. And these terms are support that any being can come. They don't have to have a Course in Miracles background. But we do realize that there are a lot of terms in Course in Miracles. There are a lot of terms in non-duality, period. There's only one term to remember, light. Everything else is worth forgetting. And that's all. That's it. Done. That's all it needed to know. So to support any being that comes, because anyone can see the light. Everyone is the light. There isn't anything that isn't the light. And yeah, this is just like an open invitation to anyone who feels drawn to infinite light and the light of divine being and the simplicity of what this expression in consciousness is expressing and sharing as an extension of A Course in Miracles. Now, 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 which many teachers say now, 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 now. This is just to see where all the not nows are. And to see that there's a part of ourselves, super consciousness, that can support greatly the Holy Spirit, Jesus, that symbol within consciousness. It could be Ramana Maharshi. Jesus said in A Course that beings that seemingly are not in body, form, and help. I have no doubt about that at all whatsoever. These are powerful expressions in consciousness, and we are consciousness, so why not? Why not Ramana? I feel them. I feel them there. Supporting beyond the form in consciousness. So yesterday it was really helpful because Anya suggested, okay, we're talking about terms, and suggested acceptance. So there is some information on acceptance in A Course in Miracles. I'm thinking it's either 18 or 19, can't remember which chapter, where he talks about true acceptance. So we're going to add a little definition on acceptance. Divine light accepts all, and the ego rejects everything. If we really look at the honesty, pleasure is rejecting ourselves. Pain is rejecting ourselves. Objective experience is rejecting. They're trying to reject the light, toss the light out with the baby with the bathwater. Out it goes. The mirror of infinite being. So we're going to find out what Jesus's infinite beings and interpretation is of acceptance. Yet the ego can pretend to accept emotions, pain, suffering as death is necessary. And we've heard this before. Well, I'm just going to accept, it's just accepting whatever, right? God wills. Well, if God wills it, I'm okay. Yeah, that's not accepting. That's accepting the ego's idea of hell. And Jesus is going, you're pure infinite light. What are you accepting less than your divine beingship for? What are you accepting your projections for when there's all kinds of this thing? He's saying, yeah, Jesus, does one single emotion need to be experienced to wake up? So let's ask the divine light. And the light of divine being, does a single emotion need to be expressed to recognize and accept divine being? And just hear the answer. No. That's an idea arising in consciousness. However, the denials, dantana direct, the desire not to know has to be looked at, because that's all stuffed down. That's how we're stuffing ourselves in a shoe, as we So the ego can pretend to accept emotions, pain, and suffering. I'm just gonna, they are clouds passing. That's really infinite clouds passing. And Jesus is saying, do not mistake. Yes, don't give any power to them. The light of divine being's not lighting them. The ego will put kerosene on this. Make sure that we feel like we're on the fire. Jesus is saying, see, the light has the power. Just go, no. It's not false denial. It's true denial. I am not a body. I'm free. Today I pulled out a pot. I'm just putting the pedal to the metal with Jesus, Either this is true or it's not true. He says you don't have to, none of this. So I went to get something out of the oven and managed to get my finger on long enough to have a recognition. That pan was 425 degrees, because that's the setting of the oven. So it was quite hot. But it was like, no. Jesus is in just immediately go to the correction. It's like, I'm looking at my finger, there's nothing, nada. And that would have been a super wampum, plus no story around it, right? That's the freedom. It's like, okay, that happened. Where's the design? Where's the projection? Is that desire? Yes, clear. Not have another sensation around it. Like, okay. I'm taking them at his word. That's a projection, desired experience. I get it. Put it in the light. Oh. And then done, light's still here. Is the light here? Finger burn, not burn. Is happiness here? Burn, not burn. Before it would have been a story. I don't know what all kinds of things would have happened before. Now it's like, how does that impact divine being? That's our real power. I could sit there and I burn myself with and felt the burning embers, which it does. I put it immediately in water. Jesus not saying no magic. Water's magic. Then just go right to, okay, desired experience. It's like putting exactly what he says. I'm not a body, I am free. Right in there, right into practice immediately. This is not, yet the ego can pretend to accept emotions, pain, suffering, and death as necessary. This is not acceptance of divine light. Acceptance of the correction, a change in perception, reveals that all thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions, pain are untrue, and it's immediate. We have that, the power is divine being. It's not, again, he repeats, it's not to deny emotions. It's to get under there and go, I am desire, there's a desire under this, and I can see it right now. And Put it in the light. This is divine acceptance of the power of divine being that is not susceptible to the whims of the untrue. Not, that was a little thumb whim. And it's like, I'm not being susceptible to that. No. If we are not willing to put what we're learning to the test on an immediate basis, we can never see how powerful we are as divinity. Thus, this means that the untrue need not be accepted as what is happening. It can be seen as untrue immediately and as such falls away. If we created it so, we can just, not false denial. Jesus, what are the conditions by which this is appearing? This experience is appearing, show me. And it's like, as this is practiced, like the confidence, the faith in ourselves, that we're worthy of everything that's God given. We've generated a whole world. I'm gonna let my thumb bother. It's like, no, not a minute of suffering over that. No. That's untrue. All sensory experience is untrue. I said, Jesus, on my attempt, I knew the answer already. I need to ask him because he's told me enough times. That's what we're trying to project something outside yourself. Take back the projection. Projecting it. This is acceptance of God. I love this. Acceptance of divinity, the real as the only thing that is real. Divinity is the only thing is real. Is sensory experience real? No. Thus, it is not automatically given that any form, thought, feeling, emotion must be experienced. See, the divine light does not experience, it merely is. See, the divine light has no requirement to experience anything to recognize divine light. Thus, you, as divine being, need not experience anything unless you desire to experience it. It always comes back. Like, there's no way to send this out to anybody else. And that's the happiness. That's perfect happiness. This is the only true acceptance, and is merely an admission of what is already here. It's an admission of what's here. If you withdraw your desire from any experience, it will simply disappear as it is a phantom. Little phantom experiences, little ghosts in the house of unhappiness. Oh, so much happiness. Not being subject to our own delusions anymore. And we've talked about this too, you know, how you have to say no. What are you saying yes to? Saying no to the ego is saying yes to divine power. And all the power of God's going to come ripping through on that. Yes, Jesus, thumbs up. All the power of God comes ripping through. I'm not a body, I'm not free. If we're not willing to go, here's where the rubber hits the road. Then we're not stepping into all that we are. We're playing little. Give it to me, Jesus. So we'll go back to finishing. So that was a new definition added to our definitions. Now I see if I can go back to the terms that we started yesterday. Continuation. These are really helpful. Yeah, so if anyone has any terms that they come across, Janet, if you just text this or someone watches this YouTube that we can add. We've talked about communion, right and wrong mindedness, miscreation, tiny mad idea, forgiveness, and I think the Holy Spirit is the last one we talked about. So now we'll talk about, we've got the donkey chorus. All little fellas out there. Infinite light, true nature is. Is the infinite light what is? Divine light of being. I like to check in. It's good to check in on these things, see, because we've been checking in on darkness all the time. Now we're going where the power is, keeping that power cable rather than going and switching off our light. We're just going and saying, okay, let's see what the light has to say. In the light of infinite being, in the honesty of God of this light circle, is desire known? Does the light have any desire, even for ice cream, chocolate, infinite light? Jesus says that desire for ice cream will generate a universe, just remember. That's how powerful our mind is. It creates ice cream, a whole story about ice cream, how I used to like ice cream, how this ice cream isn't as good as the last ice cream that I had. See the storyline? That little mushroom just grows. What's wrong with this ice cream? It's not cold enough. It's too hard. All the reasons why. Perfection is not here. Those are all desires for something else, the elseness. Wanting elseness. There's light, and then there's ice cream that's bad. So we're just really learning where our treasure is. Is our treasure? Light has to challenge us. We walk over and eat ice cream. It's all the guilt. This is going to make me fat, you know. You know, think about all. There's like a mushroom cloud just around ice cream. That one thing. Oh, I really want ice cream, but I can't have it because it gives me a head freeze. Look at all the cause and effect. Just an ice cream. I'm gonna get a head freeze if I eat it. I'm gonna get fat. This is not good for me. Too much sugar in it. Not enough sugar. Artificial sweeteners. It's not the desire for the ice cream or not the desire for ice cream. It's the desire to not be totality of love right here. Light that happens to have a taste bud that seems like it's eating ice cream. Oh. Okay. So it's not letting ice cream be the definition of who we are and define what happiness is. It's see, the happiness is here, whether we're having ice cream or not. The only reason why the spirit may assign us to eat or not eat ice cream is so we can see all those quote unquote, they call them attachments or desires. I might have to close this. I think I'm getting a shower. It's full. I'm getting a holy God shower. It's just to see, it's not about the ice cream. That's what we think it is. If Jesus says to have ice cream or not have ice cream, if he says have ice cream, which we heard it tonight, you know, because we just follow. It's only because it's divine expression in totality as it is. Divine expression, he can eat ice cream. It's not, there's no deprivation or lack. It's just to see if Jesus says, Jesus, are we having ice cream? And he says, oh, it's just to see if how much energetic is investment in the seeming object of an ice cream. Are we under the control of thought-based egoic consciousness in that moment? I'm going to hell because I'm not having ice cream. What's wrong? Why can't I have ice cream? You know, that kind of limitation experience because of the belief that something is gotten from ice cream. And if we don't get it, It's only to see that we're happiness regardless of any object that floats by in space or what we eat. Desires are unnatural energies, investment in the untrue, which are hidden in the subconscious mind. Woohoo! I think I don't know how it's blowing. Even though the windows are closed, I can still feel it spraying in here. Yeah, we might also, if we close the curtains, that might temper the sound just a little bit too. Thank you. Anyway, which are hidden in the fractionation of consciousness, so then we dumped below the level of awareness all these desires for experience that maintain the experience of separation and hiding the recognition of unity, the experience of true experience. True experience is happiness versus objective experience. Objectless experience is the light object. Does it have an object in it? Infinite light in our direct experience. Is it unified? You could say that in a manner of speaking. Doesn't know unity or non-unity, yet through consciousness we can recognize that there's something that is not fragmented. It's interesting, right? We're pretending to be fragmented, yet we can recognize non-fragmentation. Very interesting. Desires are energetic investments in the experience of separation, which is carried out by beliefs that deny the light as our natural state. And express in consciousness is objective experience, experience relativity. There's an I body relative to this computer top, to that ice cream cone. It's the ice cream theme. All terms can be defined through ice cream. There's a hand on an ice cream cone and a tongue that's separate from the ice cream cone. If there's any pleasure, I'm having ice cream cone gives me pleasure. Its taste isn't a challenge, it's the pleasure. Because guilt and pleasure are wedding partners. The guilty pleasure of ice cream. Experience of pleasure and pain appearing in the dream, which deny that peace is the natural state. There's this movie called God is the Bigger Elvis. God is the bigger ice cream. Infinite ice cream. Infinite happiness. That's a good movie, by the way. God is the Bigger Elvis. You can find it on YouTube. It's really wonderful. Okay, carried out by deny light is our natural state and express in consciousness as though they're objects, which deny that peace is the natural state. Desires miscreate feelings of something more or less, something missing, wanting, feeling inadequate and unworthy, less than whole, and then trying to compensate by specialness. I can be more than everyone else. I'm better than everyone else. You know, it's like that tag, that group of people's better than me. I'm better than them. You know, it's this hierarchical structure. Does the light know hierarchy? Is the King of England, Queen of England, any different from any other, the janitor that we might judge as a hierarchy? Light is equally distributed. No one left behind. Does everyone, all beings on this planet, have equal opportunity to recognize light? Does every single moving being have the opportunity? That's why it's so valuable when Jesus says no false empathy. Because we're making an assumption that another being cannot recognize light. That's an assumption about ourselves. It's almost to even come in this circle and talk about anything other than light and assume that some being could not sit in this and recognize it immediately would not be in alignment with the Father's will. Even if they'd never been to a light circle before. Because the light is first and it's available. That's why all courses, all spiritual paths lead to the recognition of divinity. Because divinity is here, you can't fail. There's no divinity failure test. Does God have, does infinite light have a divinity failure test? If you don't do this, you cannot pass. You will not get your infinite card. As we look with the light of divine being, light's not doing that. Light doesn't do that. It doesn't, there's no limit. Beliefs below the level of awareness in the subconscious minds are means to attempt to block the recognition of light, recognition of unborn awareness, choiceless awareness, infinite reality. That's the shift, when really the admission that there is only infinite reality. Because we've made it so that to doubt infinite reality. Now, obviously, I did Tiny Mad Idea twice. I don't need to go through it again. There is a good line in the end here, though, about, talked a bit about the Tiny Mad Idea last night, fairly sure. Since separation from divine light is impossible, which we see, just hold that tiny mad idea because we can, we created it. I feel that's valuable to look directly. Jesus, show me directly the desire for the tiny mad idea. And see that even no, whatever the idea is, does it stand in the light of divine being? Just hang it out on the clothesline of divine being. Let the sun burn it. Separation, divine light is impossible. It must be experienced in the light of divine being is the only way, like the experience of less or more. It has to be dreaming. We'll just ask the light that. And here, a desired dream of falling asleep and not recognizing absolute reality and waking up. It's all desired experience. Desire to have a waking up experience to what's already here. The experience of transcendence. Still an experience, still dreaming. Anything other than absolute reality is dreaming. Listen and, okay, next definition, listen and follow. Follow the light within, follow the Holy Spirit, voice for God, or voice for inner light. In A Course in Miracles, the helpful means is offered to speed spiritual awakening through the recognition of divine light and learning to listen to divine light, the memory of divine power, which is denied to the investment in the experience of the changing, the ego, the desire for changing. So there was an invitation for hell to come and live at home. And now the means is to see that we're divine light and to follow the divine light. Meaning the voice within, the voice for God, that speaks to us. It can't not speak. Can the light, let's just ask in the light of divine being, can the light not speak to us? Is it not in communication with us? In honesty of God, when we ask, is it? We hear it say, no, I'm not in communication. No, I'm not in communication with you. Divine light just is. It can't be out of communication with its creations, with its expressions of divinity. Its nature is communion, celebration of source as it is, in wholeness. It's love. That's what love is. It's communion. Communing, communing, communion. So as we turn into the light channel, divine light within, Jesus is merely offering. I mean, a number of spiritual traditions will talk about this inner intuition. This is the way, if you want speed, to really follow the divine light within, because it's a denial that the ego exists, saying, nope, nope, nope. And so it's the speed up. So following, Jesus says, do only that. Do only that is see the light and follow the light. Know that you're light, follow the light, and ask me where the miles light are. It's quit denying yourself. Puts a little X over denial. The memory of divine power, which is denied through the investment in experience of the changing. To learn to listen and follow is to learn to hear the voice for truth. In ACIM, this is called the Holy Spirit, which is the voice for God, the voice that recognizes original divine nature. You can't hear it now. Here, it's very highly auditory, obviously, hearing Jesus and writing everything down. It can be, you just see in the diversity of consciousness. It's like sometimes it's a little resonant energy, a little, it's that intuition. You look at a picture and you just know, the symbols that show up in form. Or you don't hear anything and you just know, okay, this is what the next thing is, that the divine movement, it's really tuning into divine expression. What's most natural, following the light's most natural, rather than following the ego, which is the puppet of depression. Rather than being puppets of depression. We're going to be depressed. There's no way not to be depressed if you're not following. That's the basis gig. Somebody's depressed, they're not following divine light. Let me ask you, yes. That's an unequivocal. That's not to say that, a lot of stuff, fire isn't going to come steaming out of your ears when you first. Jesus says that's not necessary. Not necessarily true. It's the resistance. It's wanting to hold on to the false. That's why it hurts. It's the desire to hang on to the false. Pain is always desire to hang on to the false. That's why even Jesus is a good reminder. The only purpose of following the Holy Spirit is to alleviate pain. It doesn't cause pain. To learn to listen and follow is to learn to hear the voice for truth, which is the voice for God, the voice that recognizes original divine nature. To follow this inner guidance or intuition is the expression of divinity as it is whole and complete. It's honoring the expression of all given by the Father. And ceasing to pretend like it is possible to have a will that's separate from all that is. It did feel, I can see where there were moments where it just felt alien. That's an idea. It's tuning into what is original, the natural state of being what is. To follow a voice for God uncompromisingly, it's for me. Reminder, is to align with divine nature and to cease to deny divine nature, which is infinite, unchanging love. The ego is a denial of a voice for God within. Following the light within is a fast means to spiritual awakening, as following the light within is a denial that the ego, the sense of limitation, exists. Amen. Perfect happiness can only come. That's the only way perfect happiness is going to appear. Everything else is an investment in saying no to ourselves. Seeing that is really helpful. Seeing past the idea of an alien. But it's helpful to see in the light of divine being. That's why Jesus says you could do anything that I ask, because we're divine beings. Whatever he's asking, of course we're capable of it. Not capable, more than capable. We even created the voice that's telling us what to do. Oh, that's divine humor. Oh my gosh, we love this argument with ourselves. Now, okay. It gets so humbling. You see everything he says is true. Okay, healing. Healing is a helpful thought. It's a thought. It's a helpful thought. You know, he's putting all the thoughts in a corral that really were helpful in saying, don't think about the other stuff. Stay with the thoughts of God, like right here, so we can focus on true identity rather than all the chaff out there floating around. The recognition that divinity is denied and the denials must be looked at through the light of forgiveness to see the desire to experience thought, feelings, and emotions, all the changing appearances that seem to be real and must be recognized as denials of divine light. Is healing necessary in the light of infinite being? Can the infinite being find something that needs to be healed? We look as divine light. Look in there, look around, because this is, okay, so here's the other, is there anyone to heal in the light of divine being? Is there a healer or a healed in the light of divine being? This is acceptance of divinity, recognition that there's no one to heal and no healer. And then seeing below that the desire for the experience, desired experience, deny divinity. There is neither a healer or a healed, nor a healed, yet this must be recognized and accepted as truth for lasting peace of mind. Healing is not of the body. All healing takes place in the mind, as Jesus says in A Course in Miracles. This feels helpful. Infinite mind. There's such a conceptual idea that healing is of a body. So let's just ask the divine light, because it collapses all the concepts. In the light of divine nature, the infinite being that's here, does a body actually heal? Can a body actually be sick in the light of divine being? It's all an idea. So body just merely expresses the subconscious desires that are below level of awareness. The desire to experience a lump on the back, and then it's called, oh, you have cancer, you're going to die. So then we can play the future of going to die and never really live. Yet that can be used in consciousness to see that no death is there at all. So there's also a judgment about what's appearing in a body as good or bad. What's unique about A Course in Miracles is Jesus merely saying the body can just fall away, can have perfect health. Just by looking at the subconscious desires to have experiences of seemingly a sick body, which is a projection. It's a projection of personal identity. So just look at the personal identity. When that goes away, the quote unquote dis-ease in the body has to fall away, because all experience is objective experience through desire. Can you get around that? We'll ask in the light, is it all desired experience? Healing is not of the body. All healing takes place in the mind, consciousness, because the light doesn't need to be healed. So consciousness, healing points to reunification of consciousness, the fragmentation of consciousness. Ceasing to accept the fragmentation of consciousness and the experience of lack and limitation, desired experience. Try to remember, okay, tell me. Yeah, it's some, as Jesus says in A Course, it's some kind of external searching. When these symptoms of prayer in the body, it's external searching, right? It's trying to search for salvation through form. It may and often does reflect as healing in the body when the mind changes. Yet this is only an expression of change of form, which is not a reflection of absolute reality. It's a reflection of where the mind is, may express that way. But the only thing that's of value is the light itself, whole and complete, unchanged by anything in form. And that's in the healing chapter, either 18 or 19. Jesus talks about that specifically, about healing and the hands-on healing. And he's telling everyone, do not go and talk about this healing. He didn't want the emphasis to be bodies healing. That was just a natural expression of divinity, following the Father's will. The dead can walk because we made the dead. The dead, seemingly dead bodies. The emphasis is not on change. The emphasis is on the unchanging, always. What's unchanging? The light itself, absolute reality. It is merely an opportunity to look beyond form and the miscreation, the desire to experience form as real. Look how illness in the body creates an immediate future project. It is a stronghold of limited consciousness, pain. There's something else. It's a future. Now I have a whole future planned out for me. I have all these doctor's visits and I have all these. It's not to judge any of that. It's innocence. It's just that our function is to look within and see what's true in terms of what the need for healing of a body really is. It's a call to love within ourselves. It's our own call, calling love. If we don't answer that call by seeing it through the eyes of love, infinite love, we will suffer it. We will feel subject to it. It's a desired experience of trying to feel vulnerable and small, and to bring up all the fear of death. It's right in the mind. I could die from this. Notice whenever you're sick, it's something, some kind of illness, it's substantial. Then I have to do something to prevent death. It's a lot of body identification there. Jesus says it's all body identification. So healing is of mind to break the identification with that there is a body to heal and that there's someone to be healed. and that there's someone who does heal. Yeah, he's reminding me of, and I think I spoke about this before. I asked him, okay, is this in service? And he says, yes. At the, it was at the Boston Convention, and someone said, yes, our real function is to go out there and do hands-on healing. No, it isn't. It is not. Now it might be a common guidance. I can't say it can be a helpful step, hands-on. It's not, there's no judgment. It's just that Jesus does not heal bodies. And very loving, mighty companion said to me, what happened? So after the convention, there was someone who didn't walk well, and a bunch of mighties jumped in and started giving them hands-on healing. And I heard, no, I'm not, do not engage in that. And so one of the beings said to me, well, we're doing this because this being doesn't, their mind isn't where it needs to be for healing. That's the belief that we hold about ourselves. It's not, there's no other being to hold that belief about. So Jesus very specifically after that, I wrote that it just came through that chapter about really what healing is. Healing is to look with Jesus at the desires for an experience that deny divinity. And just stay in that lane. It's no one else's responsibility, no one in the hospital going in and finding out what their beliefs is. We look within to see where we have denied ourselves divine. That is the fastest, most direct way for ourselves. It's not getting involved with healing other. It's seeing what the mind is doing, because it makes an other. You see how that generates another, that there's someone to be healed. There is only the mind and the denial of divinity. Crucifixion. Crucifixion is a desired experience arising in the mind of the dreamer. This is so interesting. What's the crucifixion? It's not desired experience to crucify, experience crucifixion. And to look at that man hanging on the cross to deny our own divinity. What a powerful symbol that is. Until that crucifixion fully washes out, looking at that and feeling one twitch, what a gift that is. Until it's transformed, a healed mind would see that as an expression of infinite love and see no difference, just as Jesus didn't see any difference, as an expression in consciousness. This is the desired experience of self-crucifixion, and Jesus talks about this quite a bit in the Course. This is so that, everyone has an opportunity to see what crucifixion is. Suffering and death, samsara, is crucifixion. The wheel of samsara is crucifixion. Karma is crucifixion. It's a desired experience to have karma. Does the light have karma? Does the light have past lives? Did the light reincarnate? It's another story appearing in consciousness, all simultaneous. Is there a future in which to reincarnate in? In the light of divine being. Can the light find a future? Does it have a future? Does it reincarnate? Does it have an ancestral, I was reading that something, it's some kind of an ancestor to heal from? Reincarnation's an idea. It's an idea of re-crucifixion. I can come back and be re-crucified in another life. Well, Jesus said that's true. It's true. You know, I've heard some beings say that. You know, it's consciousness rising here. It's a doubt thought, actually, that someone's saying, well, you know, I'm going to come back and be divine being in another life. There is no other life. Life is here. It's infinite light is life. Life is not a body. I am not a body. I am free. I am as God created me. And that does not have the body is real in that sense. The body is going to reincarnate, doesn't have a body, is going to reincarnate in that. It is the belief that sin and guilt is real, the Son of God, and the miscreation of consciousness somehow engaged in an act of sin against God. It's a jihad against ourselves. That's what crucifixion is, the jihad against ourselves. It's a big old argument against nobody because there's nobody to argue with. Any argument is a sign of dreaming. We're going to have the checklist. Here's a sign: dreaming, 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 dreaming. But they then can become the wake-up alarm. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I just tried to kill myself in the dream. Somehow engage in an act of sin against God and thus must be punished for it. Thus we must punish ourselves. Self-punishment. This is the symbolic casting out of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. Yet God, infinite light, does not cast anything or anyone out. Does the infinite light, well, let's just ask the infinite light. Does the infinite light boot anything out? Does it cast anything out? Now, this is in consciousness, the creation stories. It's self-booting out of the garden because of the belief that biting the apple, it's sin. God doesn't boot out. That's the Son of God doing it, its own self-booting. Explain that. The Son of God, consciousness, playing the boot itself out game. Okay. And must be punished for it. Yet God does not cast anything or anything out. We can see this as divine being. God is infinite light is. Casting out is an idea arising in consciousness to blame God for what is impossible. Casting out is a desired experience to deny the light of divinity through judgment. The crucifixion story of Jesus within consciousness is merely a demonstration that death holds no power over the Son of God and that all expressions within consciousness are to be seen without exception as expressions of infinite love, which includes the story in consciousness of the crucifixion of a body called Jesus. No error. That's what see no error means. Look upon Jesus hanging on the cross and see no problem with that. That's what no error is. See that as an expression of infinite love, expressing God is in everything I see. So if I look up at Jesus crucifying, it's to remind me how many times I'm crucifying myself. Like Peter. Before the cock crows 3 times, I will deny my Lord. Before the cock crows 3 times, I will deny myself the kingdom of heaven. That's the retranslation. I will deny myself the kingdom of heaven 3 times. And then you just count up the number of times, you realize it's 100 billion times. Thankfully, the light's still here. Judgment. Let me see how we're doing on time, 7:54. Okay. We'll just do judgment. It's a full hour, 3 hours worth of definitions. Okay. Judgment is the desire to experience duality. It's a desired experience. To experience judgment requires 2. Something that can be judged and one who judges. In the light of divine being, can we find judgment? We can't find two, so judgment's impossible. It doesn't judge. It doesn't. Does the divine light even know what judgment is? Can't judge. This is an experience of duality, and thus all pain and suffering. More and less. Judgment is more and less relative, something relative to something else. It is a denial of infinite light. Since the desire for the experience of more than one miscreates perception, judgment is healed perception through forgiveness. The collapse of the perception that there's two, more than one, collapses through forgiveness. Change, that's the change in perception. It's no longer perceived that there are two, more than one. There are a lot of definitions in here. Might have to add some more. We do thank you for joining us for a fun session. Even the terms are enjoyable when Jesus defines them for us. And shows it's the collapse of concepts, because there's so many concepts out there about what God is and what judgment is. And so it's really helpful to be clear on those. Thank you, Jesus. We love you. We love you, Janet.